Hello, my name is Lynn and this is a roundabout story about my dog called Baxter. Once upon a time, no, a long time ago. No, that's not right. Okay, it was sometime in the middle of the day. That doesn't work either. I know, let's jump straight in. Baxter was a dog, a beautiful black Labrador with eyes that resembled deep blue pools of water and a cute little nose. Actually, it was a big fat nose, but it was still definitely cute. And it had a lovely blob of white just on the end of it. It was as if someone had daubed him with a paintbrush. Baxter was not just any dog, but a very special one, because unbeknown to his owners, he could fly. So how come he knew he had this incredible gift? Well, I'm going to tell you. It was a beautiful spring day, not long after he was born, when Baxter decided to go on a little adventure to the bottom of the garden. Now, because he was just a few weeks old, he was still very unsteady on his little legs. He'd been playing with Rollo, his brother, when he lost his footing and had fallen into the garden pond. Rollo, quick as a flash, raised the alarm to their mama, who grabbed him from behind and propelled him through the air. He had literally flown through the air. That was the defining moment when he knew he could fly. Now, he was very careful to keep his superpowers under wraps, as his mama had told him that dogs that had unusual powers were not popular and would get into trouble and end up being taken away from their owners and end up in the dog pound. This was not a place where you could buy a dog for £1, but a sad place called Poundville, where dogs were taken away from their owners and were never seen again. Baxter had never used his superpowers for fear of this happening to him, so when, at 6 weeks old, he was whisked away to the Jacobs family, his mama and papa had made him swear never to speak of this incident again, and despite the occasional daydream about flying, he'd never broken that promise. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and he had been lazing about in the garden, pretty much doing nothing, apart from chasing the odd fly or tracing an ant's journey with his nose, or of course having the odd cheeky swing on the garden seat when nobody was looking, when it happened. Charlie, the smaller of the two humans, was having a nap when all of a sudden the mama human let out an almighty scream. The scream was so loud the windows in the house rattled, the tree branches shook, and the grass shuddered. Baxter was suddenly alert and bounded into the house. When he got to the top of the stairs, he could see Charlie standing on the chair, clutching her bear called Geordie. Once Baxter got to the top of the stairs, he was super quick to take in the situation, and it became clear that Charlie had climbed out of her cot and was about to hurl Geordie, her favourite bear, out of the window. With superb skill, Baxter leapt into the air and grabbed Geordie Bear by the arm, knocking Charlie into her mama's arms. Unfortunately, he had not worked out the finer details of his landing and suddenly found himself off course, and before he knew it, he was out the window and flying through the air. His lovely black ears opened out and he started flapping them like wings in an attempt to stay up in the air. The humans looked on in awe as he navigated his way back down onto the ground with Geordie Bear still in his mouth. Once on the ground, he was quickly surrounded by all the human family, who were looking at him with a renewed interest. He knew then his secret was out, and it wouldn't be long till he was on his way to Poundville. But to his surprise, everyone started talking excitedly and patting him enthusiastically on his head. Baxter let out a huge sigh of relief and wandered off to lay back down under the apple tree. Maybe he would not be sent away after all. The next day, whilst Baxter was having his breakfast of kibble and pedigree chum, he was surprised to hear the doorbell ring. Now, this doesn't sound unusual, but Baxter had his breakfast at 7 a.m. and there were never any visitors that early. It was unheard of. He leapt away from his bowl and charged for the front door, barking as loud as he could. The door was opened by Mama, and there standing in the porch was this very tall man. The man looked very odd. He had a large black top hat, a red coat, black boots, and a very curly handlebar moustache. Baxter was sure he had seen this man somewhere before. But where? Baxter had a very poor memory, and sometimes he couldn't even remember what he'd had for dinner, or if he had already had a walk, or if the vet's was a nice place to go. The man knelt down and stroked Baxter, and throwing all caution to the wind, Baxter rolled over and indulged the guest by showing him his tummy and baring his teeth in a sort of Joker-type grin. The man laughed. Baxter decided he liked him. Once inside, the chatter was very fast and high-pitched. Baxter didn't understand any of it. There were a couple of times the word treat was mentioned that caused him to prick up his ears. Before he knew where he was being put on a lead and led out of the house. This must be it, he thought. I've blown it. I'm off to Poundville. Baxter felt sad and longed for his mama to take the lead back from the man. But she didn't. Baxter was led to the man's van and was ushered into the cage at the back. The mama lady waved and shouted something to him that sounded like a happy sound. But Baxter didn't feel happy. He felt sad. Sad that he had showed his superpower to the family of humans. After what seemed a long while, the van stopped and he was led out. In front of him was a huge red and white striped tent, and he could see a sign at the top that read, Billy Bo Bumble's Circus. This was strange, thought Baxter. It didn't look like the horrible place that Mama had told him about. The man led him inside, and Baxter was excited to see lots of things to climb over and lots of seats filled with lots of humans. In the very middle of the tent, there was a big, tall slide. Baxter knew what a slide was because he went to the park every Wednesday with Charlie and Geordie Bear. But why was he here? Up you go, said the man. Up I go? Where am I going? Thought Baxter. But as he was always happy to oblige, Baxter bounded up the stairs. Once at the top, he was confused as to what to do next. He was just about to slide down when the man shouted, Fly! And without a second thought, Baxter took off and was flying through the air, his ears flapping like Billy-O. The whole tent erupted with applause, and the man was clapping and cheering. Maybe flying was a good superpower after all. As he landed, the clapping started to fade away, and someone was shouting at him. With a sudden jerk of his collar, Baxter opened his eyes. He looked around and realised he was back in the garden, and he'd not saved Geordie Bear or been on an adventure. He had, in fact, been having his usual afternoon snooze. Baxter heaved a sigh of relief, safe in the knowledge that his secret was still safe and his superpowers still intact. I hope you enjoyed the story about Baxter, and I hope to see you all again soon.